I got you guys. You're right. That one never gets old. I wonder how many people actually get doing that. All right. All right. Uh-huh. Another this week. It is freaking bloody cold out there. Nice and mild last past couple of days. And I was like, oh, not so bad. Today, no. Wind blowing sideways, snowing sideways. Yeah, oh yeah, it's like big trucks coming down the road, you can barely see them. You can hear them, it's just this murky shadow that comes out of like the snow and fog. It's like you're walking along the side of the highway and it's like, I'm gonna die. And it's when you hear the plows. It's like a horror movie when you hear the plows and you can't see them. You're, but how far away is it? It sounds further away than else. You look back, I'm gonna die. Hey, people get killed in Canada all the time by snowplows, like literally. That big wing there, that thing, even if you just get out, like you got to get like way away from it. It's just like the ice flying off of it will kill you, right? So, let alone if you get pung, you hit that thing in the back of the head, you won't have a head. Oh well, it happens, you know. Well, looks like another This Week in World Crazy. First off, a little housekeeping. No, I'm not mad at anybody. No. Don't take it as that. Just to address one of my subscribers. No, I thought that never crossed my mind at all. Like, no, what happens is it's a weird thing. It's something to do with the algorithms. People will comment, and it happens to this guy the most. For whatever reason, he'll comment, and my other my two main trolls, so to speak, I love you dearly. I love you dearly, but what happens is you guys will post something, and it'll show up. You know, in the little notification thing, it'll show up there, and I'll read it. But then when I go into like the actual to read all the comments, sometimes it doesn't show right away. And I give a thumbs up to every comment I read because just to let people know that I read it, that number one comment you get on that number one like you get, it's usually me. If there's two or more, well, it's other people, but if there's one on it, it's me. Just kind of like, yeah, hey, bud, I read it because my keyboard's all screwed up. It's too hard for me to type back. It's a pain in the ass, right? Because half my keyboard doesn't work, right? So I just to let you know that, I did read it. And sometimes what happens is I'll check that little box and then I'll go back a day later and then there's all the comments that I read the day before in the little box, but not in the main thing. And they're usually further down, and I usually scroll down quite a bit and usually check them all. But sometimes I'll check them and then the next day I come back and those comments are my thumbs up is unchecked. So it could be just a glitch in the system, whatever. But I've never censored anybody. No, you guys know if you follow me long enough. We can agree to disagree on topics. That's fine. I've never blocked anybody. I've never censored anybody. I just don't do that, right? So no. I don't take it personally. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So. Yeah, don't think that I'm mad at you if you don't hear, like, if you don't get the thumbs up right away or whatever. Like it's a lot of times like it's the algorithms. I've never not let somebody post. You know what I mean? You know, even the bots. I let the bots post. Like the way I look at it's the internet. Like like there's people that freak out about policing their chat, and I understand it because it's like like. What's said in your chat can get your channel banned. Yeah, like it has nothing to do with you. You have no control over that. But they if they want, they'll use it. So, oh well, there's hate speech in there, so we'll take the channel away. You know what I mean? It's I know it is what it is. I mean, look at the hate speech laws that are coming into Australia now. Like they're literally going after like full Marxist. Revolution there. It's like, oh, anybody on the right whatsoever, we're coming for you. And that's going to be everywhere. Especially in the United States. No, your Constitution doesn't mean anything. Look, if the law enforcement and the military are not upholding the Constitution, and the judges and lawyers are not upholding the Constitution, unless it works they can use it for lawfare for their political faction, You know what I mean? Like it doesn't mean anything because half the judges and lawyers probably need to be hanging from a noose for treason. You know what I mean? Uh, it is what it is. But no, not mad at anybody. You're allowed to disagree with me. Never feel you can't disagree with me. My whole goal is so that people can learn how to disagree with each other without resorting to violence and like just getting all butthurt, whatever. No, we're allowed to disagree with each other. Like I get it. Like I hate the fact that I have to bash on Trump so much with the TDS. It's not TDS. I'm just telling you what he's doing, right? But yeah, it is nerving that the guy's so like went the total opposite way of what he was supposed to do, right? So what do we do? And it's something like pretty much by every poll you look, whether it's on the right or on the left, like Trump is really losing his base big time, right? And he's lost the moderates. He's definitely lost the moderates. Again, you got Greenland out there basically. It's very telling about how the meeting must have went between J.D. Vance and Mark Rubio because the people like the Greenland, like the lady, her first language is not English, right? So you know what I mean. She's an Eskimo, right? So she has a bit of an accent or whatever, but she's well spoken enough. But basically, between her and the other guy, you could tell that they're disappointed in the meeting. And they've stated that no, like we're not interested, blah blah blah. But something must have been said in that meeting that scared them because now you have Germany sending troops to Greenland, you have France sending troops to Greenland, you have obviously the Danes sending troops to Greenland, and there's actual military buildup going on. That's not a good sign. Now, mind you, is Trump using this as a distraction? So he's going to attack Iran because the airspace on Iran has been closed. Possibly, if there's going to be an attack, unless it happened last night, usually happens on the wee hours of the morning, but usually Trump will attack on a Friday night because Trump, he's done this several times now. He's not the only one that does it, but he's the one that's the most obvious doing it. Like Joe Biden did it, Obama did it. They all signal to the stock market to get their guys to make money, right? So if you know the attack is coming on the Friday, it doesn't give after the market's closed, it doesn't give them time to go hyperbolic with the stock market, right? And then things settle down by the Monday morning, and then it might drop, it might go up, it might go down, but it allows people to place their bets on the Friday evening that are in the know, right? So just look who makes money, and you figure it out right away. And it's something. This is horrible news. Gambling, I think, is like up by something like 50 or 80% in the States. It's I forget what the number was. It's a ridiculous number. But people are resorting to gambling like crazy. It's astronomical. Don't gamble, guys. Don't gamble. Poor people gamble and they make themselves poorer. I get the desperation or whatever, but like, look, every time something bad happens, doesn't mean you have to do the usual desperation thing. Becoming a drug addict or an alcoholic just because you're stressed. I get that. Do something else. Do something more creative. I get it. It sucks having no money. You're preaching to the choir. This is why when I do have money, I tend to stock up on things. And then, I do without for like ever in a day. You know what I mean? Like I really do. Like the only luxuries I have is basically Pepsi in a chocolate bar or Pepsi's a chip. That's my, and at some point, it gets cut off. Like usually around February or whatever, I can have like one a week because I'm out of money by that time, or not out of money, but out of, leisure money, right? I know some people can't even do that. I'm not lost on the household debt and stuff like that. You've got them out there trying to say, "Oh, see, Trump's winning again. Look at the GDP numbers are going up." Okay, you know where that GDP growth is? Okay, so number one is the the data centers, which are going to be a massive loss. There's no way they're ever going to, like, they're not building these data centers to make money off of it. They're building it for something. It's kind of like the internet in general. It really doesn't make any profit. Apple doesn't really, it's the number one company in the world. It moves the most money, but it doesn't make any profit really at the end of the day because it always operates at a loss, right? But it gets funded by crazy by the basically it's like Elon Musk. It's a weapons program. You know what I mean? If you wondered what it's for, well, look at Iran. You've got all these Starlink transmitters or whatever being passed out to the Iranians, right? How are they getting them? Well, the same way they're getting the AKs and the flamethrowers, and again, Mike Pompeo out there, the guy never fails. If you really want to know what Trump thinks, even though he's not working for him, or you want to know what the plan is, like these people cannot fucking keep a secret, like they can't. You got half of the neocons out there saying Iranians keep fighting because Israel's right there beside you. The Mossad is right there beside you. Like wake, nudge, nudge, ha, 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 we're sneaking the weapons. So in other words, there's an insurrection and a terrorist attack from Israel and the United States happening in Iran. I'm not for the Iranian regime. I mean, they've got their own problems, but I mean, basically Donald Trump, basically on behalf of Israel and all those neocons, destroyed the Iranian economy overnight. Like literally, the Bitcoin to what is it the real? No, it's not the real. Whatever the currency that Iran uses. It's like you see, it's like this, and then like straight up, it's like complete crash of their economy, right? And that's just from the sanctions and stuff like that. So Greenland is watching Trump take out and kidnap Maduro. Are there going to be Blackhawks arresting the leader of Iceland or Greenland or Denmark? Are they really going to do something with it? I don't think so. Look, the Danes aren't the biggest military in the world, but the equipment they have, guys, they're going to give the United States a nosebleed if they decide to truly hit back. The United States will lose a carrier group. They have the missiles to do it, and they're on par. They're basically harpoon missiles, right? Most U.S. warships don't carry those anymore, but they're only a generation back. That's it. But they also have the PAC-2 missiles, stuff like that. All this stuff, and then other air defense. Plus they have the F-35. Now the F-35s, I think the U.S. are just going to shut them off. But this is a catch-22, like I said in the last video. If the United States cuts off the Danish F-35s, everybody that has an F-35, with the exception of Israel and the UK, are going to be like, okay, that's it. We're never doing business with the United States again because they're too much of a liability, right? So from a business point of view, no, they will let Danish pilots shoot down American pilots. Why? Because the Americans don't care about their own, right? They don't care about the people on the aircraft carriers. They don't the biggest, Lindsey Graham would jizz his pants if the Iranians could sink a carrier group, and they can, to the bottom and kill almost every soldier on all those U.S. bases, which Iran may be about to do. If Iran gets the idea that, we're going to play U.S. politics and do preemptive strike. We're going to play Israeli politics and do U.S. strikes. The Iranians have never done preemptive attacks. Iran has not attacked a country in over 180 years or somewhere around that. Yes, they support Hezbollah and stuff like that. Yes, they support these groups. But considering the United States used ISIS to overthrow Assad and Israel, again, openly admitted, how does Israeli 223 or 5.56 ammunition make it to the jihadists? How come U.S. soldiers were getting shot at? The ISIS guys were shooting at them with M16s. Where did these M16s come from? You know what I mean? It wasn't the odd one picked up in battle. There's these are brand new. So when the government tells you to go fight an enemy and that enemy has your weaponry, war's a racket. You know what I mean? No. They would love it if a U.S. aircraft carrier could go to the bottom of the ocean. Number one, it'll save the cost of scrapping the aircraft carriers because they are kind of obsolete in a way. Again, if there's a country like, that doesn't have any sort of defense whatsoever, yeah, they're great. But Iran has long-range cruise missiles. They have long-range rockets, and they're pinpoint accurate. The only question is, can they hit a moving target? That's the only question. My hunch is that they can. The drones carry missiles on them. Yeah, you're going to be overwhelmed with just the drones. You know what I mean? The air bases don't, the U.S. bases in the region don't move. Those rockets come in fast, and they are accurate. And if the Iranians don't give the American base the heads up, you probably won't even know these rockets are coming in until it's way too late. People probably won't make it to the bunkers like they did the last time. And even at that, you had over 100 people injured. A couple of people killed, unfortunately. It was Iraqis that got killed. But what I'm telling you is that the Americans are not going to be able to save their own in the Middle East. And you're talking about 80,000 guys, 50 to 80,000 guys, whatever it is they got there, on a regular basis. It's about 700 and some odd bases. Iran can hit just about every one of them. They can hit Big Ben, Big Ben in the UK. You know what I mean? Like they have the range to do that. Like they can shoot that far, supposedly. And I'm sure their rocketry is getting even longer ranged. I think they probably have stuff they probably do have light ICBMs. I don't think they've achieved miniaturization, so they might have something like a Minuteman III style missile where it can fire, it can make it to the U.S. continent or the U.S. similar to like the North Korean stuff. But it has to come they probably have like maybe a few of them, and maybe they only have like 2 to 3 warheads on it, something like that. The Iranians could do this, and I know what every American's response. You do that, we'll wipe you off the map, we'll nuke you, we'll do this. Well, the Iranians already know you're going to do that to them anyway. You know what I mean? It's just a question, when do they get to we've got nothing to lose at this point, guys. Let's just that's it for Israel. Let's at least take them with us. Let's make it hurt. Now, there's that. The Iranians don't even have to go that far. Why? Because all they have to do is release their sleeper cells in the United States. And this is something Donald Trump is completely, the guy's a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? He's smart at some stuff, sure, but, in general, the guy's, he thinks like a Hollywood movie, right? It's like, oh yeah, we're going to go in there, we're going to show it to them, we're going to win the date, everybody's going to love us. And it's like, that never happens. You know what I mean? These people are delusional. But they're also, you have to understand, it's like, are they really that stupid? Do they not really, at some point, this idea that nobody will ever stand up to the United States, that's not how life works. You can only push so much. When people feel they're cornered or they don't truly have anything to lose, they will fight back. And trust me, the United States, as big as the military is, would not win a war against Germany, particularly Germany and France, the Danes, the Canadians, over Iceland. You're not going to win that war. You might, and if you do, at what cost? Are you going to lose 50, 80,000 men just to try to take Iceland? Now, don't get me, the stakeholder investor class, they don't care how many people die. But by the time you get to about 1,500 Americans killed in 2 or 3 nights of basically shelling, and you have 15,000 people there, with frostbite, that's whatever. Right now, if the battle were to take place today, the Greenland people could overthrow the military bases, because I think there's only a couple of hundred Americans on these bases now. Trump keeps signaling that he's going to send troops to Greenland. Once he does, the Danes, they're getting out ahead of it. So I'm thinking they're going to start setting up their mortar positions and just okay, if they step out of line, just don't ask questions, just start fucking shelling. So we're ready for an international incident here. Yes, If Donald Trump just wants to destroy NATO, maybe that's what him and Putin talked about. Who knows? I still don't think him and Putin are in on it together in that sense. I don't see any evidence of that. I think Trump is just he does whatever whimsical thing that he does. It looks like he's in favor. Yeah, Putin is going to be the guy, and Xi are going to be the guys that are going to win the biggest out of NATO getting knocked out. But that said, I know a few people are like, well, no, what he's trying to do is get the Danes and everybody to, defend Greenland so we don't have to. And okay, no. No. They want the Americans want to steal Greenland for their resources, period. They want to steal Canada for the resources. Because the first 5D chess move I would do if I wanted to take over Greenland, okay, is I'd take office, okay? I'd say, okay, normally my first meeting is with the American president. I would call the American president and say, hey, I hope you don't mind. I really apologize, but there's something really important I've got to do. In this case, Carney met with the king first, which does make more sense for us. I know the Americans won't make sense, but the king, not everybody in Canada's, loves the monarchy, but what I'm saying, it is a part of our heritage. It's, it makes more sense to meet the king before you meet the president, right? Even though you could say that we're closer to the United States pre-Donald Trump. But what I would do is I'd say, hey, I'd call up Greenland and say, hey, would you guys mind if we made our first visit to you guys? It would mean so much to us. And they would be so ecstatic on that. They'd all be waving the Canadian flags and stuff like that. We'd come out, gift them some, Canadian Club whiskey, gift them some, beaver tails if you've never had those things. They're a coma. They're diabetic coma it's like cinnamon in the shape of a beaver tail, and it's they're so good, and there's so many. You get strawberry, raspberry jam in there. You can get applesauce in there. They're so good. You've never had a beaver tail, you haven't lived. It's a pastry. It's not an actual beaver's tail. Just so you know. Because the poor beavers walking around with no tails. Yeah. But yeah, you go there and you just shoot the shit. No pressure on them. You talk about our relations. You talk about the Humboldt Island whiskey war. Make fun of that. That was the best war in human history. How Canadian was that? Like the Humboldt Island whiskey war. And of course, Justin Trudeau got rid of that. Like, you fucking asshole. Like, it was a part of the patrol anyway. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, I hate Justin Trudeau so much. I don't hate a lot of people. Like, I hate George Soros. I hate what Donald Trump is doing. I hate Trump. I hate, I hate Macron. I hate Starmer. I hate the new one in Australia. Carney, I don't like him. I don't hate him yet. Give it time. And the list goes on and on and on. But it's just anyway. So yeah, you work out that. You talk a bit of, hey, maybe we should get some cooperation with some trade. What would you guys like to do? Is there anything concerns you have? Is there how could we make our partnership better? And I'm sure the Greenlanders would and the Danish would be absolutely ecstatic. And then you say, well, while we're there, we'll invite or go over. I mean, look, Sweden did this. Sweden really went to bat to improve relations with Canada. Especially over the Gripen and stuff like if Sweden plays their cards right, I trust me, I'm a fan of the Swedish military equipment because it's clever, it works in the Arctic. It's practical, right? And I've always said we should look at more Swedish equipment because it just makes sense. It's just, if we can mass scale Swedish CV90s here, and we almost got them, but for whatever reason we flipped and went to the States, right? Maybe we make a deal with the Swedes. Okay, well, we'll sell you some of our new Lav 6s, and the new Lav 6s that are coming out here in Canada are they're quite the machine. They've upgraded to a 30 millimeter cannon. I think we should just go right up to the Orlikon 35, like the Germans and everybody else. If we're going to hit something, let's hit it hard. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that the 30 mil isn't going to do a good job, but it's definitely heavier hitting than the 25, the AMX rounds that we have now. But no, let's go to the 35 air. Get all that airburst stuff. Basically, our Lav 6s are like the ultimate APC, and we're like the number one builders of Lavs, right? It's just I don't know if we build them 100% in our country. I'm hoping we do. Look, Doug Ford. He's like, I hope he's already doing the investments of, okay, how do we build the vehicle 100%? Don't wait for Trump. Like, don't wait for negotiations. Just start doing it. Because you're going to need 4 to 5 years to do this, maybe 10, but start the process now, so that in 10 years, when Trump's still in office, because he cancels the. Dave Bannon is very convinced he's going to be in power in 2028 because he's got to get everything done. I don't think he's going to live that long, personally. I don't think Trump lives to the end of the year, especially if he attacks Greenland or us. There'll be a military coup within the States for sure. It might get thwarted. It's hard to say. But that said, look, when you get rid of rule of law, this is any country, and you use lawfare and stuff like that, you end up with vigilante justice, right? And that's kind of what Trump is doing now. The difference, though, is, and I know all the Trump cheerleaders are out there, oh, look what he did to the Federal Reserve guy. His name's blank right now. But anyway, he sits there, humiliates the guy. Okay, I get that. But does that ever look fucking unprofessional? Like, you know what I mean? Like, even Putin doesn't do that. He doesn't even have to speak to make you look bad. Like, he just sits beside you and looks forward. When everybody knows that, again, if you want to see a very scary man, it's Xi Jinping. He is, in my opinion, the most powerful man on the planet. In the public eye, anyway. Behind the scenes, who knows? He's more powerful than Donald Trump, just because of his reservedness. But he knows the power he wields. Another extremely scary man on the planet, who most people dismiss, but is Erdogan in Turkey, because that man knows exactly how his power dynamic works with everybody around him. You could say a lot of horrible things about that man, and that's very easy to do because he is a very fucking horrible man. But he's almost up there with Saddam Hussein for wielding power. He can fuck over the United States. He can fuck over Europe. He can fuck over the Russians. He can fuck over Israel. He can fuck over whoever he wants just because of right where Turkey is, and he knows it. He knows it. It is going to backfire him at some point when Turkey and Germany go to war, which will probably happen after the fall of NATO, after Trump makes a move on Greenland. But the only move that Trump can make on Greenland now is a military one, because the Greenlanders, look, when Trump comes out on TV, like, this is again, all these people just dismissing what he's saying. I'm like, the mask is off. Like, when he comes out and says, look, we're going to get Greenland. You could do it the easy way, or we could do it the hard way. Like, how fucking mob boss is that? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Oh, but he's not going to attack Greenland. He will never do. He's going to do it, guys. He's going to attack us. He's going to attack. Like, I'm just hoping that the Canadian military is doing more than just talking about what if. Like, okay, do we have a mobilization plan? Where is all our equipment? Is it all in fucking Latvia? Most of our stuff is probably overseas, right? What do we have here ready to defend the country? We better spread out those Leopard tanks a bit. We better maybe get those M109s up and running again. You know what I mean? How many of those brand new Carl Gustavs do we have? Hopefully, at least 20,000 of them, so that we can whack. Because you have to understand, there's about 15,000 APCs and tanks that are. You got 5,000 tanks and a whole bunch of APCs and armored units. Light armored vehicles coming in. We need to be able to knock those things out, right? And for us, if we mobilize now, even with U.S. air power, they would never be able to take us. And I think if we fight a defensive war, I mean, I hate to say this, but we're going to win against the Americans. It's just at what cost, right? And how many Americans are really for it? It might be like 4% of Americans that are okay with invading Greenland, and maybe it's something like 2% are okay with, think they should invade Canada. I don't know what's fucking malfunctioning in those people. They can go fuck themselves, right? But like 80% plus 90% of Americans are completely opposed to what Trump is proposing. And they're scared. Now, I believe most Americans are for getting out of NATO. But you don't have to do all this fucking destroy NATO thing, destroy the alliance. And again, everybody, like all their attractions, well, if the Americans get out of NATO, that's it for NATO. Not necessarily. Remember, Canada is one of the architects of NATO. You know what I mean? And look, I'm thinking what would happen is it won't be the end of NATO. In fact, it would probably expand NATO to some BRICS countries because the Americans won't be there to veto it, right? So it'll be like this. It'll be like Mark Carney's already said. Look, Mark Carney he outplays Trump in so many ways. And he said it like this. Look, if the Americans aren't going to lead, perhaps we will. Okay, you might not like that. Like, I'd love to see Canada get out of NATO, but give the other countries, say, look, we're going to be leaving NATO, but we're still going to do joint exercises, kind of like what Sweden was doing. It's just we're not going to be a part of the NATO thing. We're not going to be contributing to it, but we can do joint exercises and stuff like that. The way we're going to become more of a neutral. I'd love to see us become a neutral country. But I also I like the idea of, okay, well, instead of focusing on NATO, how about we focus on the Nordic Alliance? Maybe we have the Nordic Alliance and the European Union army that they were talking about for years and years, and break it up like that. And of course, they could coordinate together and whatever. It changes. It really just changes title. It doesn't really change but it also would be cheaper for us, be cheaper for them. And there wouldn't be all this, okay, here's your obligations to do this, and this for the military-industrial complex. You contribute what you got, but you have to contribute something. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think it would do two things. First off, Russia would see this and say, well, okay, NATO's done for, so, we can kind of cool down a little bit because, they won't be able to take us. Okay, fine. And that's what it comes down to. Like, I know the hyperbolics of, Putin wants to take over the world. Putin can't take over the world. He can barely take the Ukraine. He's winning. Like, they're winning in the Ukraine. Don't get me wrong. They are winning in the Ukraine. The Ukraine, I feel bad for the Ukrainian people because the Ukrainian people still believe, that the Russians just attacked them for absolutely no reason. You know what I mean? Like, I understand it because of the propaganda that they would get. But if they really understand it, no, they were overthrown. Look, there are Ukrainian generals out there early on that said, look, we got overthrown by Zionist bankers. It's plain and simple as that. And, it was basically NATO setting up the war, setting the Ukrainians up for the fall, to take the fall for NATO. That's all that's happened. And it's exactly like I said, NATO is going to fight the Russians to the last Ukrainian. They're going to do it, right? So when Starmer's talking about sending troops to the Ukraine, and France and Germany are talking about sending troops to the Ukraine, most people don't want to go and fight for the Ukraine, right? I feel bad for the Ukrainians because they were promised that they were going to be a part of NATO. They were promised that they were going to be in the EU. All they had to do was overthrow their government, do regime change. Kind of like how Trump is telling the Iranians, we'll save you if you guys just overthrow your government. Yeah, we heard that in Desert Storm. rise up against Saddam and we'll come and save you. They never did. Saddam slaughtered millions after that. Well, maybe not millions, but he killed a lot of people after the first U.S. invasion of Desert Storm, for the people that basically betrayed him, right? Saddam, in my opinion, is still the scariest leader out there. But yeah, so we'll see what happens with Iran. We'll see what happens with Greenland. It does look like there's a military buildup in Greenland. So all those Americans that are just dismissing Trump's rhetoric or whatever and saying, oh, well, these are just a bunch of crazy Democrats just overreacting. It's like, okay, well, you're going to have to practice some nuance here. Look, let's say for argument's sake that it's 40 chests of some sort. It's not, but let's say it is. Okay? The thing is that if you really wanted to make sure somebody wouldn't cooperate with you, this is exactly how you would do it. So like I said, Trump could have went in there, made his first visit instead of having Canada. He could have say, you know what? I'm going to do something different that a president never does. I'm going to take office, and rather than everybody coming to see me, I'm going to go visit somebody else. I'm going to go to Greenland, go to this small country. You know how much that would have meant to them? Say, look, the U.S. president's here, kill him with kindness, do all the nice things. I said, hey, look, we'd love to do more trade with you. We'd love to do this. We have some concerns in the Arctic. Is there any way we can, and look, Greenlanders are out there saying, it doesn't make sense to them why all the threaten that they're, threatening. I mean, they're like, why do the Americans want to murder us? You know what I mean? For your resources is the answer. But they're like, they already have the right to use the bases. They already have the right to expand to put whatever weaponry they want pretty much in Greenland. They've already got the green light. It's been there for 50 years. You know what I mean? So what are they talking? The Greenlanders are completely what the fuck are they talking about? There might be a quarter of the Greenlanders that actually want to separate, but it doesn't mean they want to become a part of the United States. And every time, again, Trump, just because a boat landed there 500 years ago doesn't necessarily mean it's, belongs to the Kingdom of Denmark. They say it's theirs, but is it really? Okay, you want to go down that route? Okay, well then Christopher Columbus, you know what I mean? Yeah, no, it's theirs. It is theirs. The language he's using is even Putin doesn't use language like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. But the thing is that no, I'm thinking we're going to see some severe, something really scary happen in Greenland, probably before the end of the winter. Maybe Trump attacks two countries at once. Who knows, right? I believe he's going to send troops, an obscene amount of troops to Greenland at first. But you have to understand, the bases are sitting ducks, right? The Danes have rocket trucks, right? Maybe they don't have the rocket capabilities of Iran, but they've got rocket trucks. You just need one per base. They have mobile artillery. They have all the stuff. They won't need very much. If the Americans if the Americans start killing Greenlanders that protest, and it's only a matter of time before the Greenlanders start protesting outside the gates of the bases. And I know, we're just defending ourselves. No, if you can't see why these people are mad, you know what I mean? At what point do you get it? You know what I mean? I know most Americans, and I'm not going to try to shame you because it's usually I believe shame is a good tactic, but I'm not going to try to shame you because I know most Americans are embarrassed by what Donald Trump is doing. People on the right, people on the left, people in the center, they don't want this. They didn't want. They're concerned about grocery prices. Let's talk about those GDP numbers again. Change subject here. Okay, so most of the growth is coming from the data centers. Okay. But the other growth, and this is not good. It's coming from things like credit card debt. The reason why the data center stuff is because it's all the contractors that get paid, right? But that's stimulus. That's not natural growth. That's not, hey, our sales are up this week. You know what I mean? But however, credit card debt is skyrocketing. I forget what it's at now, but it's like 29% of households or something like that is just living. They're no longer living paycheck to paycheck. They're now living, trying to live a credit card lifestyle. It's horrible. But a huge spike of 24% of the GDP numbers going up in the last quarter. And again, you can blame the insolvent government for this, is the spike in healthcare costs. Yeah. Oh, a single payer system? Oh, well, that's socialism. Yeah, people can't afford fucking healthcare down there. Like, it's ridiculous. Like Americans pay way more for their healthcare than what us Canadians do. The difference is it doesn't come straight out of our pocket. Is there problems in Canada? Absolutely. Absolutely. Uh, you know, yes, you can die waiting for treatment in a Canadian hospital. That is true. That is true. Because we've overwhelmed our hospital with third worlders, right? But last count was like 23% extra strain by immigrants. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. I'm sure it's much higher now. But in Americans, at last count, 40% of you can't even get health care. You will just die. You can't even get that, and if you do get health care, and you don't have health coverage, you get a bill for $100,000 for spending 2 nights in the hospital. You know what I mean? It's just fucking ridiculous. Like it's the most, and they've convinced Americans that it's free market capitalism, therefore it's good. I agree with Cameron McGregor. He said a couple of things last night on the Backlash. It was pretty dark and grim on the Backlash last night. What an excellent show, though. It's Blonde in the Belly of the Beast. The channel is just now called Blonde. What I love about Dave Riley is, he's a fun guy to listen to. Blonde and him, they're dynamic. Their banter is just absolutely. It's the best podcast on the internet. Joe Rogan, he's no good. You want to listen to something real? Go listen to them. They really get into the nuance of stuff. You know what I mean? But Cameron McGregor, him and I see eye to eye on a lot of stuff. And he's always, and again, I love it when you get people on the show that don't just 100% agree with each other, on everything. Like, he'll push back, but he does it with like a lot of insight. I don't always agree 100%. I think a lot of him and I just kind of burn the candle at different ends, but we're going to end up at the same conclusion. But something he said really, it's basically all these people that want these wars, right? Oh yeah, well, hey, we're doing conquest now. Yeah, let's do it. Let's flex our might and stuff. Yeah, these aren't the people that have to go fight these wars. Once you, every now and then he'll, like this man was in the U.S. Navy or whatever. Every now and then he'll let things slip of the stuff he's seen in battle. You know what I mean? Like when, stationed here, stationed there. It's like, oh, here's a 10-year-old dead boy on the side of the road. You don't unsee that. You know what I mean? And all these people, yeah, well, we'll just go take Greenland. We'll just go, kidnap Maduro. We'll just go attack Canada. That's the stuff you see, right? And the one thing, or we're going to go attack Iran. The thing is America is not, has never had a war on its soil since basically 1812, right? I think it was the last one with us, or 1864, I think, one of the civil wars. Whatever either the Civil War or 1812, whatever it was, I forget the Civil War, was like 1860 or something like that. Yeah, so they haven't really had but they've never had a modern war on the, on U.S. soil, and they're about to. Like, the United States is about to go to war with about 40 to 45 countries, and countries that can actually fucking hit back. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's not always a numbers game, guys. Most of the time, it's about tactics. If you have German submarines, French submarines, Canadian submarines, Danish submarines, Norwegian submarines, British submarines, possibly, Swedish submarines, like prowling around the Atlantic, you lose the U.S. carrier groups. You know what I mean? You're going to lose the U.S. Navy. You lose the U.S. Navy at that point. Other navies will surround you. It's only a matter of time before your Air Force gets taken out by cruise missiles. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And the thing is the Americans would not understand bombs raining down on their heads. They wouldn't understand it, right? They wouldn't. They'd be so freaked out. Why? Because other people around the world don't understand why everything's fine one day and then the U.S. just attacks them. You know what I mean? Like they don't understand it. Like, why are you doing this to us? What have we done to you? Like, okay, you hate our leaders, but you're going to kill us. You know what I mean? And Americans don't see it like that because they don't get to see it, right? Unless they're fighting it. Once they fight it, they always come back, and almost every veteran is anti-war after they come back. You got a few of them that are fucking douchebags that just like to kill people, but most of them don't. They're like, no, these wars are fake. These wars are for Israel. They're always for Israel. They're always for the bankers, right? Stuff like that. But like, again, when you look at the GDP numbers, with silver just like, I think, hit like $90 an ounce. Again, like, what kind of world are we living in? You know what I mean? Like, it's gold is closer to 5,000. Like I said, between $5,400 and $8,500 an ounce. I might have to revise that to, by the end of the year, it might be higher than that. It might be like 15 to 20,000 an ounce. What kind of world does that look at? That looks like in a world where there's a lot of death and destruction. That looks at a world where a lot of people will be starving to death. That's extreme hyperinflation. And you say, well, there is no hyperinflation. Nikes are cheaper than they've ever been. Yeah. Energy, cost of living, rent, food, utilities. No, there is lots of fucking inflation. There's lots of inflation. Like the devaluing of the U.S. currency is on purpose, right? And the thing is again, is it for the CBDCs? I don't know. I don't really know what system Trump is trying to move the U.S. to, but it's not going to work. And it's going to be very catastrophic, right? Extremely catastrophic. But the thing is all these wars, like how much more money are you going to be spending on this war with Iran, right? Like how much money does it cost to get all these Iranian revolutionaries AK-47? It's millions and millions of dollars, right? Adding to the pile of the debt. Again, the Americans are, going on, the ones that are still Trump supporters are going on by, look, we made $190 billion off the tariffs, which you might have to pay back to all the, it's what a scam. The American taxpayers are going to have to bail out all these companies that, for 190 some odd billion. Now, mind you, Trump might just use another law to go around the courts saying, well, no, I can use this law to enact it. This law. It doesn't matter. You're hurting the American. They're going to get screwed no matter which way. You know what I mean? It's just so corrupt, right? Oh, but it's the 4D chess plan. No, it's not. He's just in on it. He's just the other mob boss fighting. But again, like the cause, like how many people died during the government shutdown because they couldn't get their, the postal workers and stuff, because they couldn't get their meds. They couldn't get this. They couldn't get that. You know what I mean? They couldn't renew their health insurance. I mean, people die when they can't renew their health insurance, right? And that's where, once the government kind of opened up a bit, that's where you get that GDP spike of everybody trying to renew their health coverage. Like, it's fucking evil. But the thing is the terror attacks that are going to be coming from probably Venezuelans, the Iranians, whatever. Again, you might see some Danish hit teams, go after the Trump administration. If you kill their people, they have every right to defend against you. You know what I mean? You've got, the fucking Antifa out there full bore, right? Was it Minneapolis or whatever? Okay. I mean, they're not. That's not going to go as far as people think, just because, like, yeah, they're after the ICE guys or whatever. But the thing is that it's a white woman that died, so really, like, it was if she was black and disabled, the whole country would be burning by now, because there's no value to white people on the side on the left, right? I mean, they won't even say her name in the vigils because that's considered violence and a microaggression against minorities. Like, you can't even make this up. Like, it is that fucking far gone. Like, these people are full bullshit. But the downside is they're the ones that are going to run the system full bore next time. They're going full Bolshevik. They are going to murder right-wingers left, right, and center. So, yes, you will have the civil war in the States. And none of this needs to happen. But Donald Trump ensures that it's going to happen. And it's not to collapse the system and start over again. All Donald Trump had to do, right, when he got in, number one, end the wars. Just ending the wars and tell Israel to go fuck itself. You could probably start balancing the budget that way, right? The Doge was a step in the right direction, not the right way, but the step in the right direction. Right, and he gets rid of that. So right now there's no balancing of the budget attempt whatsoever. Just spend more, spend more, spend more. Right? He didn't have to start a tariff war and hurt the American people. He didn't have to do this. There's no gain to that whatsoever. What he could have done if he wanted to really make America great. Okay, so I'm the president day one. Okay, well, I want the United States to bring back manufacturing. Who's our number one customer? Canada? Okay, let's go. I'm going to go visit the Canadians. All right, Canadians, yeah, look, we're going to be going, bringing back all our automotive manufacturing and all stuff like that. But how about we work together so that your supply chain and our supply chain, it'll take us about 10 years, whatever, but we make sure that you can completely support your side, we can support our side, right? Now, something that's about to happen with the automotive industry, okay, and it can go a couple of different ways at this point. We'll have to see what Carney gets out of the Chinese. Again, I don't want to be grafted onto the Chinese just to create the same problem down the road with them as we got, with the Americans right now, with just our economy being too linked to any one economy, right? But I think if Doug Ford hasn't figured it out by now, you need to start talking to like Toyota, BMW, and stuff like that. What's going to happen, I know vehicle prices are now astronomical, and again, just wait till next year. Like, look, the globalists don't want us to have any more vehicles by the end of 2025, right? So they can't just come out and ban all the vehicles. They tried it in the UK, people backlash. But what they can do is make vehicles so unaffordable you just can't get one. That, we'll call it the Cuban model. We'll call it the Mao model, whatever. And the thing is that's what Donald Trump has done. Again, so you're going to see dealership after dealership after dealership just closing down left, right, and center. But the thing is that if, let's say we make a deal with BMW, right, and say we're going to call it the CMW, the Canadian Motors Works, instead of whatever, and we'll take some BMW, full range of vehicles, whatever, and we'll replace all Dodge and Chrysler and all that, all those plants. We'll close them up. Retool, okay, well, it'll be a couple years of investment. Nobody has to lose their job because you're going to be busy retooling for new vehicles. But we make them 100% here. Every nut and bolt, just make it all here, right? And kind of like how we did the Pontiac Saturn, which is technically the closest thing we have to the first all Canadian design car, right? Technically, there was an Avro car, not the flying one, but the other one. That was designed by Canada, but it never reached production. So like our capabilities are there. It's just we have to retool and stuff like that. And yes, that takes a long time. But the thing is what's going to happen within the next 5 years is you're not going to see hardly, if any, American vehicles sold in Canada. People are going to, if you are going to buy an American vehicle, look at the ones that are made in Oshawa and whatever. and Mississauga and places like that. Um, you need to understand that, like the Americans, okay, when you look at the data, okay, and you analyze the data, what you end up with, okay, is who buys cars, okay? Trump's like, we're going to make all these cars in the States. Sure, make as many cars as you want in the States. That's not the issue. The issue is who's buying cars, right? People buy cars, not corporations. Well, okay, yeah, businesses and corporations buy cars and they buy fleets and whatever. I get that. But people buy cars, okay? There's about, I forget how many cars made in Canada. It's like 2 million or something like that per year. And most of those cars are probably being sold here, right? Or maybe 200,000 of them a year. I don't know how many cars per year we sell. I did know, but I forget. But you can go look at it. But if you cut that out, okay, of American companies, okay, and we replace them with either Japanese companies or German. Look, BMW, I think, is the biggest car exporter in the world, next to probably Toyota or Honda, right? Or Mitsubishi. Like, this can switch over. Look, the Japanese vehicles are typically cheaper. They're definitely usually a lot more reliable. And like the only reason why we don't build them here as much, and we do build some Toyotas here, but the reason why we don't build them as much is simple. We favored the United States because they were our friend and ally. But that's changed, right? So now it's like, okay, well, maybe Tokyo is more of our friend and ally. You know what I mean? Maybe we need to do more with the Japanese. Maybe China, okay, we work out a deal with the EVs so they don't just completely undercut us. Okay, but now the American market is, has less of a slice. Whatever. Again, the shift is going to take years. I get that, but you have to understand there's no going back now. Like if like this again, the people out there saying, "Well, Reg, it's because Carney won't make a deal. It's all Carney's fault because he won't make a deal with Trump." There's no deal to be made. There never was a deal to be made. Trump has had every opportunity to come to the table with his grievances without doing all kinds of stupid stuff. And we've been there ready to talk, right? Delegate after delegate went down to Washington, right? Which is what they're supposed to do. What's what we're paying them to do. They go down there, they get nothing. They go down there, they get nothing. We get something, then the next day the policy changes with a single tweet, right? So it's like Carney's just like, okay, well, we're not going to waste our time just trying to appease the Americans. We're, like I'm going to go talk to people who are serious about doing trade, because Carney does understand, and he's saying the quiet part out loud, is plain English. The United States wants to take us over. They don't necessarily want to do a trade. This is why Canada has a whole draft up of ready to go. Whenever they're ready, the Americans are truly ready to do trade and deal with the policy. Canada's ready to go. Like, here we got, everything you need. We're ready to go whenever you are. It's just, but the balls in your court. You guys cut off the trade talks. That's fine. And then, all these people that just want to blame Carney. I'm like, well, it wasn't him that cut off the trade talks. You know what I mean? And Carney, again, if you're a Canadian, you got, like he's saying, look, no deal is better than a bad deal. Right? So Trump's only wild card over us. The Venezuelan oil is not going to happen overnight like he thought to destroy Alberta. And again, I hope Albertans are picking up on this, that like this whole 51st state is just U.S. propaganda to try to get, steal your resources. That's it. It's not about, again, they don't do things for freedom and liberty and women and children and all that democracy bullshit. No. If you still think that way, like I got a bridge to sell you. That is not how the world is a very savage place, with full of mob bosses fighting. Donald Trump is just a different mob boss than Putin, whatever, and Xi and whatever. Now Xi, however, he's taking advantage of the situation, and he's telling Carney, like Carney's going, hey, look, I propose we double our trade in the next 10 years. And Xi's like, not good enough. Let's triple it. So again, I'm no fan of Xi. I do not want to be hooked to China. I don't want China owning every fucking part of Canada. You know what I mean? No offense to the Chinese, but like you got your own country, whatever. But on the other hand, the alternative is, oh, we're going to take you over. We're not ruling out military force, but we're going to destroy your country economically. How do you like us now? You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's that. You know what I mean? There's just that, right? So yeah, like even Stephen Harper was out there saying, he goes like, look, uh, the Chinese are better at business than us. You know what I mean? They're clearly better at business than us. And why? Because the idealism of the West is that we are always the good guys, we are always right. Where the ideal of, and we're going to impose our morality on you via, take our petrodollar and we drop democracy dams on you, right? So where America blows up bridges, I've been saying this for years, the Chinese build them. They come in, oh, well, China again, just look at, what Xi's saying to us. Okay, yeah, sure. We're going to buy all the gas, all the oil from you instead of from the United States. The United States just lost a huge fucking oil deal to us, right? But somehow Carney's not, Carney's messing everything because people are just listening to Pierre Poilievre politicking. But Carney is doing Pierre Poilievre's, he basically stole half of his platform, which is a good thing, not a bad thing. And again, I understand like the man on the street is not feeling the benefits Canada has got because it will take 4 to 5 years before we really feel that. Like it takes a long time to turn the ship. Right? And I'm not saying we're anywhere near out of the water, nor is Carney the good guy. He's just a better mob boss. He's better than Trump. But at this point, just about anybody's better than Trump. Heck, dare I say, Kamala Harris probably wouldn't have been as destructive to the American economy. It's unbelievable. I mean, I thought Joe Biden was the worst America could get. Like I thought, okay, nobody can do worse than Obama. Okay. No one can do worse than Joe Biden. And then here comes Trump, who went from the best overall prime minister or president to the worst. Like it's clear he's clearly the worst, and it's on purpose. It's all on purpose. Now maybe it's again it's the Stalin effect where everybody around him has to be a yes man. And they're all really incompetent, and every time they tell him what he wants to hear, it's a really bad idea. And rather than someone telling him, Mr. President, that's a bad idea. Here's some of the consequences that might happen. Okay, you're fired. Okay, fine. Fire me if you want. But look, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is she the only one with integrity? I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the lady, but I don't dislike her. I think she's actually for 90% on the righteous side. Right, but she's a bit, libertarian and stuff like that. Like, again, it's the boomer logic stuff, right? But I can forgive that because I think she's generally an honest person. Is she the only one that was going to stand up to Trump? The only one. But the rest are getting what they want. Why? Because Israel's getting what it wants. You know what I mean? Again, Trump doesn't hate the Americans, but he doesn't care about them. This is something that I've been, again, when you pick up on the patterns of people, it's like it's easy to just they're incompetent, they're this, they're that. No, sometimes they're just evil. Trump is evil. He's doing evil. The biggest thing about Trump is the betrayal, right? Like, it's okay. I can get it. He doesn't give a shit about Canadians, nor would I expect him to. That's not, most American presidents don't care about Canada at all. No offense taken. On our side, it's like they got their stuff to deal with, whatever, like we're not their priority. Fine, it's okay. But we've never had an American president attack us like this since George Washington. You know what I mean? So it's just like, but you don't expect them to betray the American people, especially his base. Like even the left doesn't do it to that level. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. It's just absolute crazy. But yeah, so there's just a lot of. I know I'm kind of going over the things, whatever. But Iran is the next thing to watch out for. Like I said, the first 2 months of 2026 is going to be like the chaos we've seen in the past 10 years. Oh, and yeah, we got another UFO sighting. This one, it's hard to tell now if they're just AI or whatever. Who knows? You know what I mean? It's really hard to tell. It's really, really, really hard to tell. Uh, but anyway, yeah. Complete off topic. Because I can imagine you guys are sick of hearing me bitch about Trump and stuff like that. But guys, it's prepare wisely because we are in really dire times. I don't care if you're on the left. I don't care if you're on the right. Put food away for you and your family. We're in for a very, very rough ride. There's no doubt about it. The only way out is through. Don't get caught up in the drugs and the alcohol because, you lose your job or whatever. If you need to take time off the internet because you're too stressed out by it, do that. You know what I mean? Like, do that. Like, I'm one of those people I can kind of seem to handle. Maybe I just thrive in the chaos. I don't know. It doesn't seem to bug me. But I know a lot of people that, it was the same thing when the war, like after 9/11, people just stuck to the freaking internet trying to get information on the terrorists and they're under your toilet seat. Like it was just like, you know what I mean? Like it's just the fear. Fear not. The Lord says, fear not. It says in the big book right there, fear not. He's always in charge, right? So all you have to do is just follow the right-hand path, and all you have to do basically is don't do drugs, don't smoke weed, don't drink yourself into a fucking coma, you know what I mean? Don't become a drug addict. If you end up homeless because you lost your job, it's just a job. You can rebuild again. Keep your mind. Don't drown your sorrows. Pick yourself up. Rebuild again. You know what I mean? Like it sucks. I get it. I've talked about me back in the '90s. Trust me, I struggled. I slept on the street a few times. I'm not ashamed of it or anything, but I didn't wallow in it. You know what I mean? Everybody has choices. You can just we're over our debt, and if you have to declare bankruptcy, I mean, yeah, that's got to suck. And you're never off scot-free. You still got to pay it back, right? But if you're going to lose stuff, you're going to lose stuff. Just have a plan on how you're going to lose it. Maybe declutter your life like I'm doing. You know what I mean? Maybe instead of trying to hold on to keeping up with the Joneses, maybe downsize while it's easy. You know what I mean? There's options. There's options. You can always rent another apartment. You could always move in with people. You know what I mean? Like, okay, yes, it sucks to have to move in with people, but maybe that's the solution. I mean, look, I live with extended family. You know what I mean? And I love it. I love sitting around the supper table with my dad, my brother, my sister-in-law, and my nephew. I tell my nephew a stupid joke every night. Every single night at the dinner table. It's what I look forward to all day. And we have a good meal, whatever, okay? You have that, okay, well, what else do you need? You know what I mean? Like, when you have that, what else do you need? Like, I'm depressed because I don't have a Lamborghini or a 3-story mansion. Like, the simplest things in life can bring you so much happy if you have the right perspective. Yes, it sucks. I know what it's like to do without money. I know what it's like to struggle. I've seen many people struggle with kids. I get that. I feel for you. You have to go to a food bank with kids. I've seen it. I've lived around poor people. I know what they go through. And I see people take usually one or two paths. They become a shit show. They're drunk. They're drug addicts. They're doing all this stuff because just can't handle the shit of the world, so I got to go smoke my kush, right? And I get that. And it never works out for you. It never does. And then I see other people, okay, well, we'll double down. Again, like I say, go around to the thrift shops or the libraries, whatever. Collect some books. Like they're going to be cutting the internet off us. If it's not if it's not blocking out the internet because of terrorist attacks, it's going to be blocking out the internet because of hate speech. Because of all these wars that Israel's got the United States fighting. Donald Trump could destroy our economy. Well, we can hit them where it hurts and just cut off their internet. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff like that. Okay, and then we got to. I mean, doesn't mean we won't have access to the internet, but it just means any American websites could be down and invisible, right? This is what's happening in some countries around the world, right? So go more analog. There's a massive, massive surge in people, and the younger generation too. That they want to buy records, they want to buy tape cassettes and CDs and stuff like people want the stereo again. You know what I mean? Which I mean, okay, the stereo things, yes, whatever. They're great. If you have a place where you can use them, it's like guitar amps, or then like they are loud, so you got to consider. But people, they have their headphones or whatever. I got a Walkman from the 1980s. I've got a stack. I haven't brought them down yet. I'll bring them down in the spring. But I got a stack of tape cassettes, like probably 300-400 tape cassettes. I can just put on the headphones, put on the Walkman, like do something. Like it's awesome. It's awesome. You know what I mean? Read books. Go get the free books. Get the free board games. Start getting into board games. If you and your, even if it's just you and your wife or your girlfriend, even if you don't have kids. If you have kids, definitely get board games. Like the game I'm looking at right now, it looks like it'd be so fun to play. And again, I like to offer some solutions here, through all this grim and stuff. Okay, well, all this horrible stuff is going on. Everybody's out there getting caught up in it and whatever. You could go to the protests, or what you could do is say, well, like, obviously these are controlled protests and they want it to happen. They want to crack down. They want the authoritarians. You could do something more constructive. You could do videos like this. And then after you've done your video like this, you put the video away for the day, right? And then you go grab a board game called like Feed the Kraken. I can't wait to get that game because it's like a little ship. And on the ship, you have a choice of being a pirate or like a regular sailor, or you're like in this occult that wants to guide the ship to the Kraken so they can eat it. And I'm like, oh, I hope the first time I play this with my nephew, and definitely my nephew and my brother, but maybe my sister-in-law. I don't know if she would be into it or not, but and I doubt my dad would, but he might sit there and watch us play for a little bit. And I'm hoping I'm going to like be the bad guy to get it, because I'm going to, I want to feed the Kraken. I'll be like, woohoo! But it looks like such a fun game for. There's a little ship, and you got to steer the ship, and like that'd be great. Like if you're just a boyfriend and girlfriend, husband and wife, whatever. Something we did up here. My friend Amanda, she hasn't done it in years, ever since she had kids or whatever. But she'd have like a game night, like in the middle of dead of winter. She'd be about 10, 20 of us, maybe 30 of us at her little tiny place there, about half the size of in here. Well, it's probably about the size of in here now with the add-ons, but and have like a game night. And I was thinking of doing that myself. Like I'd invite her and the kids over, and maybe like invite all the Amandas and all the kids over, bring my nephew down, whatever, and whatever, I'll extend the table or whatever, get some chairs, get a board game, and just have like close friends here, and I could invite. Unfortunately, some of my friends are no longer with us. I could invite a few other people, but you can have 8-10 people, plus the kids or whatever. Play an hour, 2 hours, have fun, have a meal. Say I'm gonna have a potluck. You're invited. You're invited. You're invited. Come on over. I'll get the barbecue down, bring my dad down, say, okay, well, Dad, come down and have some barbecue with us, The adults can have a drink or two if they want, but mainly, be a family event. And this is what I grew up as. Like, this is why I'm not for the nuclear family at all. I'm for the extended family. Because that's, like, if you want joy and happiness in your life, that's what you need. Not hyper individualism and seclusion and isolation and whatever. No, you need something more productive in your life. Is video games productive? No. Board games, are they productive? No, but they're social. like video games. Like my nephew, he has the. I did this to him the other night. It was pretty funny. He has the headset on. I keep telling him, don't put it too tight. You're going to get that gamer head, and you'll have a big dent in your head. And you can't get rid of that, right? So every night, not too tight. No, no, it's as loose as it can. And he's got the little thing. He's talking to his buddy. So the other night, I went to the microphone, doing farting sounds. And he said they didn't hear it. I was like, oh fuck. My prank was wasted. And he was like, sorry, that was my uncle. Yeah. So what I got to do is take it. Okay, while he's playing, I'll say, you keep playing. You suck. You play like a girl. I can't wait to do that, right? Because that'd be funny. It's like, what? Who is that? Hey, why'd you say that to me? And get my nephew in trouble. No, it's my uncle. It's my uncle. I swear. That's what they all say. But that said, having my nephew play a board game with us is going to be more fun than playing, a video game where the person, yes, okay, it's your friend from school, whatever, and you're talking to him online. Sure, you're having fun, but I don't know. It's a total different experience. I mean, look, there's these, you could almost call them cults of guys that play like Warhammer 4000 and like, what you call it, like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. But and the miniatures, right? And if you look at it, it's like, it's really interesting stuff. Like, because of the social of it, right? And it's getting guys out of the house, off the freaking internet. Sure, it's it's not the most social thing in the sense of boys and girls, although there are girls that play, but it's more of a guys thing. Okay, well, you could do that, but you could also have, like I say, a board game night where it's both guys and girls. Look, when I was a kid growing up, we went to arcades, and the girls hung out at the arcades because there might be cute boys there. The cute boys like me would always, waste my quarters teaching the cute girl how to play a video game, and I got to hold her hands. And you hit this button. Oh, is that how it goes? Oh, did I just kill the centipede? Oh, and like, yeah, you did good, baby. You did good. Then it'd be out of quarters. Okay, we're done. And then we go get some okay, I'm low on quarters. Let's go get some like ice cream or something. And it was always social. It was always social, and that's why people back then weren't as depressed. It was because they were always social. Okay, switch topics again. Then I guess I'll call that a topic of the day. Pearl versus Anna Kasparian. No, I did not watch it, but Pearl, I don't know what happened to her. I guess she basically had a breakdown and was just sitting there without saying anything. I don't know much what to say about that. Now, Anna Kasparian, she's not as bad as she was, but when Young Turks started out, 2008, something like that, Anna Kasparian was very moderate back then. And then somewhere around the George Floyd era, she started to really lose it as a wacky, like just completely like screaming, raging feminist, right? And then somewhere in the early Trump era, like on the second, or I guess technically you'd say his third campaign attempt, she started flip-flopping between the right and the left. And she's still radical, and she's still a feminist, and she's still all crazy and stuff like that. But on some times, she's right. Like her anti-Israel stance, okay, we see eye to eye there. And that's got to be hard for Cenk because, Cenk is backed by Saudi money, so it's not so bad. But, like, how do you criticize Israel with a show that big and not pay the price for it, right? Yeah. So anyway, but her and Pearl had a debate. Now, I'm not going to talk about her and Pearl's debate, but it's like, I just saw the clip where Pearl's just standing there like deer in headlights, kind of like she's having a mental moment. You know what I mean? Don't know what's going on in the girl's head. Whether is it just stage fright or is she just like overwhelmed and just can't speak, can't say nothing? You can hear one of the Pearl's just not saying it. What the fuck? You can hear the moderators like what the fuck? Like these blood sport, Andy Worski style blood sport, Jerry Springer stuff. They're not real debates. They're just who can. Like who can own the other, like who can out gotcha moment the other guy, right? Yeah. Well, what's the saying they got now? Uh, it's all the rage these days anyway. It's just like the it's basically the you got owned basically. I can't think of it. Anyway, doesn't matter. Uh, but the thing is what they were arguing about, and this is something, and again I've been saying it for years now. The MGTOW and the feminists are two sides of the same coin. The MGTOW are a psyop to make sure people it's a don't breed. And again, statistics. When you look at statistics, okay, and you start breaking them down and stuff like that, a lot of the times the statistics can give you a half truth, a breakdown, like such as the 50% divorce rate, right? And the 1 in 3 chance that your kid is somebody else's thing. These are the things that Pearl promotes, right? And here's the thing about Pearl. Well, she's in a mixed race relationship, okay, and making money on telling guys, white, particularly pandering to white males, to not, get into relationships and stuff like that. So, yeah, take her with a grain of salt, because everything is just doom and whatever the manosphere talking points and all that. Because no woman could ever be trusted. Okay, let's start breaking it down. Okay, when you factor in people that have been divorced, okay, and you take all racial groups, okay, it's about 50% if you factor in the people that have been divorced multiple times, right? Now, you take that away, that drops to about a third of that, right? Maybe a quarter or whatever, which is still too high, right? Still too high. Now, you take away by demographics, okay, and by race, it changes drastically. Okay, the blacks have a higher rate. Okay, it's like less than 10% for whites. So there's a 90% chance of success there. And if you out of wedlock children, or illegitimate children, that Pearl always goes on about, where you're going to be paying for somebody else's baby. And this is basically of people not knowing whether their child, that's the guy not knowing it's his child or not. It's like a 1 in 2, maybe a 10% chance amongst blacks, and it's like 2% out of 100 for whites. Like it's a really, or 1,000 or something like that. It's like 10 out of 1,000 or 2 out of 1,000. So it's like next to it's a non-issue. Like it's an issue if it happens to you, but it's a non-issue from a societal point of view. It's again all this anti-relationship stuff really is a psyop. Unfortunately, a lot of guys buy into this whole MGTOW thing and stuff like that. And you have to understand those guys, they're like the feminists in the sense where the feminist doesn't want you to have like other women to have like happy relationships and stuff like that because they're so vitriol. It's the cult of Lilith, right? Well, these guys are the same. They don't want guys to be happy in a relationship. You want to say, hey, look, this is my story. This is what happened to me. That's one thing. But never trust a woman. Never do this. And it's always the whole math guy. He does a lot of good stuff, right? But he's not as accurate as he thinks he is because he only functions in on a slice of the population that is like really fucked up, right? And he doesn't look at the odds of, like, say, from a Gen Xer, I guess my take is this. If you put men and women in roughly equal numbers in the same environment, you will get relationships. Period. Full stop. Successful, not successful, you know. Example. Almost everything us Gen Xers did as we were younger was a social event. We played outside, starting as kids, playing outside, from teenagers hanging out in large numbers, to, in our 20s, hanging out in the bars, going for supper, doing all these things. Everything was a social event. We didn't spend all our time on Netflix and the internet or playing video games. Although we did do those things, we didn't do it as much. Now the younger generations, they don't go outside, they don't play, they're always on the internet to their phones. They don't socialize, and then they wonder why they can't find anybody. Right? Well, you need to get out of your shell. The people that get out of their shell are the ones that are successful. The people that go and like just hang out, like people in bicycle clubs, rowing clubs, sailing clubs, stuff like that. Into going to the gym, not necessarily, because like you got to think about where you're going and what you're doing. But people that hang out in social events meet other people. Men meet women. You go and there's like a social event and there's like 50 people there. You've got 10 single guys and 10 single women that tend to show up. Two of them are probably going to end up together on that one, and then 3 or 4 down, the other 2 are going to end up together. Or you're working in a retail store, and I saw this several times. I don't know how many people get married, and they're still married. They're still married. And again, this is we're going on 20 years since I last worked in retail. Is it 20 years? Where does the freaking time go? Wow. Almost 20 years. And, people would date each other and break up or whatever, but there's at least 5 or 6 couples that got married of people that met at work, and they got married, and they're still together. You know what I mean? They have children. Why? Because they met people, right? And that's the thing. It's the getting people out of their shell to go get out and meet people. Go hang out in the park. Go do this. Go do that. If you're in the city, I get it. I lived in the city long enough. It's hard to meet people because everybody's so closed off, especially with how crazy everything is now. And then, of course, post Me Too, I understand that stuff too. So I'm not lost on some of the arguments. But what I'm saying is there is ways around it. There is ways to vet. Like if you meet a girl and you ask her out on day 1 and she says yes, well, you're going to get whatever you get. You know this girl. You now talk to her several times. You've hung out a few times. It's going on a couple of months of just knowing each other. You're both interested in each other. You take the plunge. She says yes. You're in it to win it. Really, like 6 months down the road, you know that you're going to be together for a long time. You take it to the next level, etc., etc. But this idea that you have to go in blind on everything, like not everything has to be a blind date. You know what I mean? And this perpetual, the people that do the perpetual dating, particularly like these girls that are just looking like for free meals and sugar daddies, yes, they're usually pretty easy to vet. You know what I mean? And you can usually tell these women right away because they're very open and out about it, right? Because they're hypersexualized or whatever. They stand out, right? But the normie girl, like the Becky, so to speak, they usually are under the radar a bit, and a lot of times they give themselves away by just being kind of like blending into the background, and maybe what the idea is to give them a more what's his name, Quan Lee, not Andrew, is it Andrew, Adrian? Anyway, this guy, I've seen him a couple of times on the Backlash. He's a half Chinese, something else, European guy. Looks more Chinese. He reminds me of a big Chinese guy I used to work with, Big Sid. That guy was a powerhouse, man. You should have seen this man work. This guy was the stock. He was about 6 feet tall, big Chinese guy. He built like Bolo Young. If you remember Bolo Young, but Bolo Young was like 5'2", right? This guy was a big powerhouse. So, nicest guy you'd ever work with. Big Chinese guy. He was ex-armed forces too. But anyway, I digress. But anyway, this Andrew Kwan Lee or whatever his name, he made a really good point about nature. Okay, and maybe he's right, but he's right. He goes, look, he goes, it's the males that are beautiful. He goes, look, if you look at nature, okay, and you're showing birds and stuff, and again, I know there's a spectrum here, and there's, you can find the counter. But he goes, oftentimes it's the males that are really colorful. It's the males that are like, here's the female bird, okay, and here's the male bird. Look at the peacock, right? Look at the a turkey, a male turkey, right? He's beautiful to look at. He's got this big freaking gobbling thing. He's all colorful. He's all spread out. He's like, check me out, dudes. Buff. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you have to walk around like a turkey, but to impress women. But maybe it might work. But yeah, it's the men that are usually the more attractive of the species, typically. In a sense, like they're the more noticeable, right? So he had a theory, and I thought this was an interesting theory. He goes, and I don't go with this whole rating of people because, like, there was one girl, I think she summed it up. You're either attracted to somebody or you're not, right? And he was saying that if a guy had a girl that was slightly less, not quite as good looking as him, that the relationship would probably be more successful. That was his theory. And he started looking at successful relationships, and he started noticing that pattern. That, here's the guy that's got a stunning girlfriend, divorced. Stunning girlfriend, divorced. Et cetera, right? Stunning wife, divorced. Stunning wife, not girlfriend, wife's divorced, right? Here's a guy that has an okay looking wife, been together 25 years, 30 years, 40 years. You know what I mean? And it goes on and on. And maybe there is a point to that. But I think what it really is I don't even think it's that. I think it's like, okay, you got the pretty girl with makeup, you got the pretty girl without makeup. If you can see the pretty girl without the makeup and notice how pretty she actually is, there's probably, she's not in the flaunt mode all the time, where these really done up, what we used to call hoochie girls, it's the whole math girls, right? Yeah, those girls were really, and I'm not saying any woman that's really decked out and done up and prissy or whatever, Barbied up, is shallow and whatever, whatever. But there's an archetype, right? It's easy to see coming. And when you see almost all the really bad, like TikTok videos from the male manosphere, it's always those same girls. And then when you see the girls that say, like, okay, this girl's a keeper, she's saying really cool things, she's always the normie Becky. Almost always, right? There's an archetype there. And sometimes you get the exceptions to the rules on both sides. Because, right? Because, right? But I think in general, what I'm getting at is that both Pearl and Anas Kasparian were arguing, basically about abortions, rights, and stuff like that, and all that. But they are arguing from like Pearl always argues about how men should just stay away from women completely, and I'm like, she's not helping. When herself is in a relationship and she's telling other guys, don't pursue because blah blah blah. Why is she so tainted? I don't know. Why is she so popular? You'll always notice any channel that promotes anything to destroy relationships never gets censored hardly at all. Like the MGTOW, they don't censor the MGTOW. If they were really worried about the MGTOW, they would have censored them. They don't censor them. You call out the MGTOW, yeah, all the MGTOWs will gang up on you. It doesn't matter. I don't care. But I've attacked them many times. Not out of hatred, just saying, like, guys, take a second take. Dig a little deeper. Get out and experience life. Don't just live life on the internet. Because I mean, if you want to depress yourself, do that. You want to fuck your head up. I mean, do that. You get PTSD just watching the internet. Like, I mean, again, it's bizarre, right? I mean, I've been around since the beginning of the public internet, since 1995, right? So I've seen it all, guys. I've seen it all. I was one of the original trolls. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure I'm like one of the like probably at the time there might have been only a few thousand or 100,000 of us on the planet at the time. Back in 1995, like we're talking the early months of public access to internet, dial up. Yeah, ding 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 ding. Oh, the third try. Yeah. Oh my god! The younger generation. Yeah, there's a reason why we went and played outside. Well, like, yeah, it's like, okay, I'm gonna hook up the internet. I gotta go do something for half an hour. I'll come back. I'll check it every 15 minutes to see if I'm successful at the hookup. And then you get, yeah, dial. That DSL, that was the fast one. That was lightning fast. Yeah, I could download a song in 2 days. Wow, how far we've come, but how little far we have come. Um, but yeah, it's no, get out there and meet people, do things. Now's a great time to do it. Like, look, the left is out there all the time as groups, right? It's just they happen to be crazy. You got mentally ill people out there trying to deal with other people's problems because they can't deal with their own, right? This is studies have shown this. But the people on the moderate right, the people on the moderate left, and a lot of people on even the further right are still more traditional oriented, right? And they just don't know how to go about it. But it really does come out, well, where do you go? How do you meet people? You meet people wherever you are. It's as simple as that, wherever you are. There are women out there right now hunting for men in supermarkets. Literally, that's what they do. They go and, or they're going like into Home Depot or something. And you've seen video after video of women trying this. And they'll go look for a single guy to get advice from, because for some reason women think that men just hang out at Home Depot for the fun of it. Like these type of women, like they don't understand when you're a guy and you're going into Home Depot, okay, you're on a fucking mission. The guys are back at the job waiting for another fucking box of screws. Because we ran out of some number fours or number sixes, right? And we got to get this job done and blah, blah, blah. Okay, we got to go pick up 18 sheets of drywall. Oh, how fun. Or 90 sheets of fucking plywood. Yeah, oh, how fun. Yeah, we're getting the 5/8 stuff too. Yeah, it's like, fuck. It's like, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So you guys are on a mission there. They're not there to, I hope some girl comes looking for me in the Home Depot. You know what I mean? Or they're there with their wives or whatever, or they're, like it's whatever. But I understand the desperation of these women because it's like, well, I can't meet anybody. Well, again, the more places you are, like I do understand, if you put men and women in the same room, relationships will happen. So maybe you need to find something a little bit more social. And it's hard because, like for example, the younger generation, like late millennials and Gen Z. Now, mind you, I think there's a couple of reasons for this. Some good, some not so good, but they don't go to bars as much. I think some of it is just they can't afford it. Others is they're more antisocial. That's not good. Can't afford it is not too bad. And others, they're just not interested in drinking. That's good. But there's others that, okay, well, they're just drinking at home. That's not good. The other thing I would say is that when the economy gets really bad, like for example, social events, acting groups, live in the park kind of thing, that starts to become a thing. The Stratford Festival type of mentality tends to come out with people where it's like, okay, I'm going to go busk, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to go do that. And it should work out pretty good because I'm bored, right? And like when I was in the city, like I was outside all the time. I've always been a person that's been outside almost all the time. Okay, except for the wintertime when it's really crappy and cold like it is right now. Okay, yeah, granted, right? But on the other hand, no, it's one of those things that I truly believe that if you're out there doing things, you're going to meet people. But if you're listening to people and you're already in it to fail, Again, listening to the guys that listen to the MGTOW, that taints you. You listen to people like Pearl, it taints you. I'm not saying you can't listen to them or whatever. What I'm saying is listen to them, but fact check. I hate that term, fact check. I hate buzzwords. I really do. But verify what they're saying. You know what I mean? Go look at the data in more detail. Because oftentimes things are blown out of proportion to what they actually are. Again, as the saying goes, data, statistics are what you make of them. Sometimes yes, sometimes no, right? I mean, sometimes the data is clear. Sometimes the data is not clear. It's like polls, like take them with a grain of salt, right? You know what I mean? Don't even bother looking at polls because they're never accurate. Very few are, right? Very few are. So yeah, the thing is that if you put your effort into the positive, you'll notice that the things are, situation's not as dire as people think it is in a lot of areas. But you have to know how to live around the madness and the chaos and cut through the clutter and the noise, right? Like, for example, Blonde said last night, like she was like how they support the nuclear family, and I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, like, no, I disagree with that. Why? Because the nuclear family was already the deterioration. We need to go back to the extended family. That's where the foundation of your society, family, nation, future is going to be, right? So as we see these people, like these influencers, kind of falling apart, I mean, it also comes to something that David Cameron, Cameron McGregor was saying that, like, when like Nick Fuentes going off, like, and again, you have to understand Nick Fuentes just rides the wave of popularity, right? He goes, when you see these influencers going on about, oh yeah, well, we should take Greenland, we should do this, and that. Again, these guys are never going to have to fight. You know what I mean? These guys will say, we should bully these guys and we should take these guys and we should, and you should be more listening to people like me in the sense of, hey, you do understand what happens when people fight back. Thousands of people are going to die. Like the United States, okay, has never fought a modern military. The most advanced military it's ever fought was Iran so far, right? And if the Americans think they can just bully Greenland because they've got massive air power, or Russia has superiority air power over Ukraine, how's that working for them? It's working. Well, no. Do you really truly believe that the F-35s are invincible? They're not. I mean, they're trackable. Yes, they're a little harder to lock on and shoot down. And yes, they get a little bit closer to the radar systems. But once those air defense radar systems get turned on, and look, almost everyone, whether it was in Syria, whether it was in Ukraine, whatever, the only ones that get destroyed are the ones that are just sitting there parked, with nobody in. The guy jumped out to take a whiz or something. That's what happened in Venezuela. The Venezuelans that did the coup basically gave the info to the Americans, right? To know where to hit these things. Otherwise, you would never, even the F-35s, the satellites, the drones would probably never find these things in the jungle until they were right on top of them. And that's the last place you want to be to find an air defense system, is right on top of it, right? Because that thing's going to fucking shoot you down if the guys are even half-assed good, right? So the Iranians, like their air defense systems and stuff like that, have proven that they can shoot down very sophisticated American stuff. The Global Hawk, they've hijacked U.S. stealth drones, right out from underneath the Americans, right? So like a P-8 Poseidon, yes, it might be able to jam a missile or two, but 8 missiles coming up at it, only one has to get lucky. And when the air defense systems can reach 250 miles, yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's when the Iranians decide, okay, it's go time, we're not doing this anymore, we're just going to go ahead and start knocking down U.S. aircraft. They're going to kill us anyway. Let's take as many of them with us. The B-2s will be gone. You'll realize that stealth is really not what it's cracked up to be. U.S. satellites won't be operating well, and U.S. carrier groups will be all but obsolete at the bottom of the ocean. And that's what we're about to see. That's what we're about to see. Now, of course, you'll have the rally around the flag. We got to go and kill all the Iranians because they killed our guys for no reason. Well, no, they killed your guys because you attacked them. The question is, why are you attacking them? Iran has not attacked the United States at all directly. You know what I mean? Yes, they've, armed moderate groups and stuff like that. Sure. The same way the United States has armed ISIS, openly admitted, armed ISIS in Israel and the United States and 40 other countries, allied countries, have armed ISIS to overthrow Assad. Right? The only reason why Assad's overthrown is because he couldn't pay his army anymore. What happens to all these ISIS guys when Israel can't pay them anymore? Well, we're starting to see the leader. When you put an Al Qaeda leader in charge of city, an Al Qaeda mercenary in charge of Syria, and all of a sudden the Syria, they start attacking like Israel's interests in Syria, and Israel's not happy about this. Who didn't see that coming? You know what I mean? Like, the Israelis are going to get wiped off the map at this stage of the game. It's just, is it going to be this round, next round, or the round after? I don't know. At one point, the gloves are coming off with Iran, and they're not going to give you the softball. Here comes the 70-mile-per-hour drones that take 6 hours to get to you. You're going to get some hypersonic missiles up the wazoo. The Iranians demonstrated this the last time. Their first round, they just hit you with the slow-flying rockets, which most of them were able to be intercepted by the Iron Dome. The Iron Dome missile defense is almost all but depleted between the Israeli stockpile and the U.S. And the Israelis don't care about burning up the American stockpile. The Americans are paying for it, right? But then that leaves America, completely undefended. The Israelis don't care what happens to America. The Israelis pretty much openly admit how much they hate the United States. They're like, these people are so fucking, these evangelicals, Zionists are so fucking stupid. We're getting them to die for us. We're getting them to kill each other for us. Again, you can't make this up. They love it. Now, you'd say, well, why would they do this? This is just conspiracy. Well, because there's many, there's the greed, the bankster faction. There's the, mob boss tyrant of, basically monopoly. We want to control all the resources and all this. There's all that, but there's also the end times prophecy stuff. Just because you might be an atheist and you don't believe in end times prophecy doesn't mean these people with lots of money, lots of power, and in charge of the big red buttons don't, right? Trump is a Zionist evangelical doomer. I've told you that for almost 10 years now. This is what he's advocated for. This is the policies he's going for. So he wants America into a war with Iran. It's biblical. It's a holy war, right? Look at it. Look at the people that he's around. You know what I mean? Listen to Mike Pompeo. He still says the quiet part out loud. Listen to Steve Bannon. He says the quiet part out loud. Now, Steve Bannon, I don't think he doesn't strike me as the Zionist evangelical. Whatever, but he's still, American exceptionalism. We need to take this, take that. He's not the good guy people thought he was. Again, there's multiple angles here, but when you're dealing with religious fanatics, they will kill anybody for their cause. The Israelis have proved this time and time again. Now, that said, and I think Cameron McGregor said, look, the United States, if they hit Iran, okay, you have to understand it might wake the House of Islam globally, meaning every Western country is going to suffer blowback in terrorist attacks, and infrastructure attacks and sabotage, the likes we've never even seen. In other words, war will be on our soils because of this attack, because everybody's, the Persian Empire is not going to be wiped out by the Zog, right? It's not going to happen. They're not going to allow it to do that. So you can see Turkey turning on, again, this is where, the war between Germany and Turkey is probably going to kick off, but you could see basically Erdogan over there in Turkey, turn on Israel, which it'd be nice to see, it'd be nice to see. But you're going to see basically a uniting. You're already seeing it, a uniting of the Arab countries where it's like, okay, yeah, we hate each other, but if we don't band together and wipe Israel off the map, we're all going to die. If we don't, take out all the U.S. air bases and everything, that surround us, we're all going to die. You know what I mean? If we don't sink the U.S. Navy, we're all going to die. Once you have ignited the House of Islam like that, and create the Day of Reckoning, like basically the holy war for the Muslims, we're talking decades and maybe 100 years of of the 10th Crusade, as I call it, really kicking off. Now, the upside is there'll be no illusions who did it. The other upside is that, yeah, Muslims will be leaving the West in droves because it won't be tolerated. There's not going to be like, well, we need to separate the good ones from bad. It's just going to be tribal, and I've called this. It doesn't matter if I want it or don't want it. It's not about that for me. It's just this is where we're headed. Yes, we're about to see the world go extremely tribal. White people are going to be more tribal than they've ever been. The anti-whites are going to be persecuted big time. The more they persecute, the white tribes, right? The Islamic tribes are going to be obviously warring against everybody. The Zionist tribes and the Jewish tribes, which is about 123 tribes there, they're going to be, basically getting slaughtered by everybody in between. The Muslim, like no one's going to stand, like white boys aren't going to stand in front of Muslim bullets on behalf of Israel anymore. The evangelicals maybe, but even at that, I think a lot of evangelicals are starting to come out of the ether. It's a big block. It's about 70 million people that are willing to do whatever Israel says. But only the most extreme Zionist evangelical zealots will go to the grave on this. The rest are going to be like, maybe I'm going to pick a different form of Christianity or Catholicism instead of going along with the Scofield Bibles, evangelical stuff, right? Because that was revised by the Jews to basically turn the Jews into the chosen people, right? And chosen people are doing stuff. And I think that's all coming to a head. Maybe it's what Albert Pike was talking about. And a lot of people think Albert Pike was like a clairvoyant or something like that. No, he was just telling you how this was going to play out. He knew there was going to be three world wars. He didn't know what kind of weapons they were going to be used or anything like that. He just knew it was probably going to take about 3 world wars to wipe out Judaism and Christianity, what do you call it, Islam, and then put Christianity to such a minority in the world that atheism and Satanism could rise. Right? This is the messianic message for years and years and years, for over 100 and some odd years. So yeah, these people are all people of power. So when they say we're going to do these bad things to you, usually they, like Klaus Schwab, when he says, you're going to own nothing and be happy. The only part he's lying about is the be happy part. But then again, if we go by her own Hariah, where you're going to be whacked out on drugs all the time, yeah, maybe that's the happy part they were talking about. I don't know. These people are sick. Donald Trump's he's in on it too, so it is what it is. So prepare wisely. Probably by the time I post this video, we're going to see airstrikes in Iran. I don't think they're going to do it until probably tomorrow night, because tomorrow is Friday from the making of this video, and I really don't think Donald Trump wants to alarm the stock market, because he cares about that more than he cares about anything, right? Other than Israel. So it's like, if you look at all the stuff like Trump just, you got factory workers that voted for him screaming at him, calling him names, and he's giving them the fingers. Like Trump is losing it. He is losing it. And I don't think he's losing it like Joe Biden lost it. Joe Biden, he was whacked out on medications, which they weren't forthcoming, which was illegal, of course, to have an incapacitated president. Apparently some sort of a cancer treatment that he was under. But Biden obviously, like Trump obviously knows when he's in the factories going on about how everything's so great, and it's not. Like, the emperor has no clothes, right? So when his factory, when you have people in the fact of calling him a pedophile, whatever, over the Epstein stuff, and Trump's just like, fuck you, give him the finger. It's like the Trump cheerleaders. It's like, okay, you're not going to go say, oh, he's oh, look at that, he's owning the whatevers. It's like, no, like you're giving the finger to the working class that voted for you after you lied to them. Again, it's the betrayal, guys. It's the betrayal. Like Trump knows he's doing wrong. He knows he's doing wrong. He's doing it anyway because Israel said so, because his donor class said so. He does not care about the American people. What he should have done, guy called him, he should just wave at him, acknowledge him, kill him with kindness, like politic a bit, right? But yeah, again, Trump is like he's basically an egomaniac. He's a bully and an egomaniac. He's not a tyrant yet. Can he turn into a tyrant? I don't think he has the whereabouts to understand how to turn into a tyrant. Justin Trudeau did. And we saw it very easily, how fast Justin Trudeau can turn into a tyrant. Justin Trudeau, a complete fucking moron and an idiot. But push comes to shove, yeah, I'll send out the fucking guard to go meet the truckers. I'll fucking, like I'll one up my dad. You know what I mean? His dad, like, yeah, I'll roll tanks in Canada. Yeah, just watch me. Remember the famous "Just Watch Me" with Pierre Elliott Trudeau? Yeah, I'll put tanks on the streets. Yeah, Trump. No, Trump is not competent enough to be a tyrant. And the thing is that one thing that keeps a tyranny going, okay, is absolute control. You can never. You always have to double down, because the second you back up, you lose control. That's it. You can't show any weakness ever. Now, to a bully, it's very similar, right? But the problem with the bully is the bully doesn't know how to be a tyrant, because you can bully for so long, but people will stand up to you. A tyrant, you crush the people as soon as they stand up to you. Think of Saddam Hussein. Like, nobody stood up to Saddam Hussein. That was a death sentence. Nobody stood up to Stalin. That was a death sentence. And the ones that did, again, Iran, did they just execute another 12,000 people? They said the last protest they executed 40,000 or 45,000. Maybe it was 4,500. I don't know. But are they executing people? What we can discern is yes. Did they kill 300 people or 12,000 people? You can't believe the Western media because, incubator baby lies and stuff like that, right? You don't know. But you do know that the Iranian regime crushes its opponents because, like I've been saying the past couple of weeks, that there's like a 1 in 2 chance that anybody that's spearheading the Iranian color revolution that's going on right now, including Elon Musk. Like, Elon Musk might be taken out by the Iranians. You know what I mean? With the Starlink satellites. Okay, yeah, you want to overthrow our stuff? Well, bad things are going to happen to Tesla. You know what I mean? I'm not calling for any threats against Elon Musk. What I'm saying is actions have consequences. And if you're going to go and be that blatantly open of supporting regime change with actual physical stuff, such as these Starlink satellites, right? Guess what's going to happen? Well, they're going to send their henchmen after you. And I think Elon Musk is aware of this. He's even mentioned, he goes, if I go after too many people, they're going to kill me. Like, his own words. Like, he's not stupid. He's spastic, right? But he's not stupid, right? But no, it's an Israeli Mossad coup. Like, all these uprisings are always tracked back to the Israeli Mossad. You have, several Zionists out there, including Mike Pompeo, going, yeah, Mossad is right there beside you. Don't worry. We got your back. You know what I mean? You say, well, it's a figure of speech. It's a figure of speech. Okay, yeah, well, okay, figure of speech, add in, where are these Iranian people getting AK-47s and flamethrowers from that are just being shipped in somehow? Gee, I wonder. Who would have the whereabouts and abilities to do stuff like that when we know how many times, we know the Israeli Mossad is all over Iran all the time, right? The Israelis are good at planning, like taking like 18 months to plan an attack, and they always pull it off. But what they're not good at is when the people they attack actually say, okay, yeah, now you got to fight on your toes. We're not going to give you 18 months to plan an attack on us. We're going to hit you like this Maduro thing. Like how, like that's probably sure. If you got it forever and a day and inside, inside scoop to be able to go steal the guy, right? Again, Maduro himself might be in on this. We don't know. I'm not saying he is, but you don't know, right? You just don't know. I've talked about logical reasons why this could be the case, right? Uh, but like for example, the Iranians, like again, every time they kill a protester, there's a 1 in 2 chance they're probably killing a Mossad or a CIA agent, right? They win. Why? Because it takes a long time to train up these agents, right? This is why Israel usually says they can't uh, take Iran that way. Like they always seem to get ahead of it. This is why they probably kill so many people. It's just we know we're gonna, even if we kill like say 4,000 people or 12,000 people, 20 of them might be really high asset Mossad or CIA agents. That's worth it for us. You know what I mean? And the majority of Iranians are not for these protests. Despite that doesn't mean they like the regime, but I think the majority of it's like Venezuela. Most of these people don't like the regime, but they don't want to be bombed by the United States. They don't want that. You know, it's their problem. Let them deal with it, right? So, yeah. But the other thing too is Don Monroe doctrine. Okay, I'm sure there's some sort of hemispherical uh, defense, national security reason why well, Iran's a part of our hemisphere because Israel's beside him. You know what I mean? Even though there's a country in between, but whatever. Um, but even though it's been war games several times that you can't take Iran in the region, the Americans have never been able to successfully come up with a strategy to take Iran militarily in the region, right? They lose every time. They'll lose their carrier group, they lose everything. Every time they war gamed it. I forget what the name of the war game was there, but anyway, there was one general. What he was supposed to do was say, okay, here's what Iran has to fight with, okay, and you just have to basically beat us. And he beat them every time. Even when they said, okay, well, you can't deploy this tactic, like to stack it in the favor of the United States, he still won against them every time. The Iranian tactics would be superior to the American ones. It's just their low tech works no matter what kind of thing. Lob shit at shit until shit gets hit by shit and blows up. Okay, don't knock it till you try it. You know what I mean? Like the rocket method is much better than you would imagine because it's like, okay, you only have to get lucky once with a rocket to be successful, and the rockets are way cheaper than like fighter jets and all that stuff. Like I say, you got the big fat Iranian guy sitting there eating his freaking donair with the hummus on it, just pulls the rocket truck out, turns the key, hits the big red button, goes back into the cave, backs the truck into the cave, goes watch TV while they're loading up the next rocket, goes back out, does it again. I'm sure it takes some hours to prepare these rockets, but you get the idea of what I'm taking. It's way easier than try to plan a strike group and keep everybody from getting shot down. And it's like if a rocket gets shot down, it gets shot down. But the odds of shooting down the rockets, and again, we saw the hypersonic rockets coming in. And I'm sure they didn't use as many as we thought they had. Again, they're not going to blow their wad on round one. The first one they did 200 rockets. The Israelis out there saying, "Oh, we shot most of them down," but they didn't. They shot a lot of them down, but they didn't shoot most of them down. The second one was like, "Okay, we're going to hit you with more stuff now. We're going to let you know it's coming, whatever." And the Israelis almost couldn't counter it. And again, that was like going from like 200 rockets to like something like 500 rockets, okay, in like 12 nights or whatever it was. So when they decided to do like a 2,000 rocket barrage, goodbye Israel, and then followed up by 10,000 rocket barrage, I mean, the Americans couldn't stop 22 rockets hitting their base. You know what I mean? They tried, they couldn't. And that's with them knowing they were coming. But the thing about Trump is his ego. He doesn't believe when the data that says no, we can't take Iran in the area. They will sink our aircraft carrier group and all that stuff. He believes the U.S. military is invincible, especially after what just happened in Venezuela. Again, with inside help. What would have happened if those air defense systems would have been on? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Maduro actually thought the Americans would invade. But now we know that the Americans will invade anybody. You know what I mean? The Ukrainians never thought the Russians would invade. Up here in Canada and over there in Greenland and in Denmark, we're like, well, what if they do invade? What's our plan? Right? So I'm hoping we're mobilizing early, all the choke points, so that we can, anything comes across the border, I'm sorry, we're going to have to fucking obliterate it. You know what I mean? Just stomp it out right away. And if we have to push into the United States a bit and take ground there, and we will, we need to have a plan for that now so that we can, hold them at the line, right? Easiest thing Mark Carney could do, no gun buyback. And in fact, if you own a firearm, the government's going to supply you with 100 rounds for one firearm. So if you have a 308, you get 100 rounds of 308. If you have a 223, you get 100 rounds of 223. And that would be your legal requirement to maintain your firearms, is to have 100 rounds in your house at all times for one caliber. Don't care if it's 22, don't care if it's 30-06, 303, 308, 7mm, we don't care. But you have to, or 7.62, whatever. Start passing out the SKSs. You know what I mean? Get the SVT-40s. Okay, maybe allow the Dragunov rifles. Bring it back those old Canadian C1, C2, C3 FN rifles. If you want to convert them to semi-auto, fine. You know what I mean? Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to go with that for now. We'll see how crazy it gets. But yeah, Trump's ego will, again, because there's no brave law enforcement or military out there to tell him no, right? You had one guy say, no, we're not going to go to an illegal war just because you said so. And again, the fact that he went into Venezuela without the Congress or anything like that, again, it's such thin ice. Well, yes, but he can use the Monroe Doctrine to be able to do this because whatever. It's crazy. And again, the fact that Article 5 might be used against the United States will not be able to take on, yes, you got a bigger military than France, but you won't be able to take on France without losses. You've got a bigger military than the Canadian Armed Forces, but you won't be able to take us on without massive, massive losses on the ground, right? Because our artillery is going to go across the border. You know what I mean? So will yours. But this idea, well, we'll just take you all out by drones and air and blah, blah, blah in 5 minutes. The 5-minute wars never happened, okay? Except for maybe with the exception of this Venezuelan thing, because everybody, he had people on the inside willing to overthrow him. In Canada, no one's overthrowing Carney. You know what I mean? Like Carney, again, no fan of the guy whatsoever. I've been bitching about this guy since 2008. But he's definitely nowhere near as bad as Trudeau was. Like, if you wanted to come and get Trudeau, I don't think anybody would complain because he was such a fucking arsehole. But, that said, even at that, Trudeau needs to be held to account by our system, not yours. Maduro needs to be held account by the Venezuelans, not Donald Trump. The Iranians need to hold their guys to account, not Israel and Donald Trump and his administration. But that said, when you bring in the vigilante justice, it's going to be bad. And when the United States is about to go to war, physical shooting war over Greenland or Canada, with about 40 to 45 countries. This will include South American countries, NATO countries. NATO will probably not be broken apart over this. I think the Americans have overestimated their value in economically and militarily. Because again, you don't think about, okay, in 5 minutes, yes, you were correct. It's very disruptive. If the Americans step out of NATO, well, we're the only ones doing anything in NATO. No, that means you don't. again, and I understand a lot of Americans don't look outside their own yard. I get that. When you do, you start to realize that, hey, maybe all this shit that Donald Trump is saying about all these other militaries, those militaries, okay, yes, there's discrepancies, there's things, yes, that could be improved upon. There's no doubt about that. But if you were to try to invade Finland or Norway, you would get your ass kicked severely. It would take a lot to take those militaries down. If you tried to push into Denmark, you would get your ass kicked big time. It would be very hard. You might win over time. It's kind of the same reason why China doesn't make a go at Taiwan. They might try it, but they're going to get their asses kicked. Yeah, China, the second, possibly, physically, numerically, the largest military on the planet is China, not the United States. They have probably, depending on how you add them up, between a 200 million and 700 million man army, depending on how you add up. It's hard to add up the security forces, the domestic security forces. Are they part of the military or not? You know what I mean? The police forces, all that. Nobody actually knows China's numbers. But even with that, as prepared as China is to take Taiwan, they can't do it without losing thousands and thousands, probably about 4 or 5. Like, they're going to lose about 2/3 of their military just to do it. Why? Because Taiwan is like Iwo Jima 2.0. Even if nobody comes to their aid. Again, it's just a natural defense. It's kind of like the Arctic for us Canadians. If we're hunkered down there first, you're not getting past us. You'll lose 10, 15 to 1 to try to get past us, just because of that advantage of basically being there first. This is, this is what the race for the Arctic is all about. The guys who can build their bases first win first, right? And the thing is that the whole attacking the Americans attacking their own allies is the most bizarre thing to the rest of the world. So I know a lot of people, well, that's it for NATO, but I'm going to disagree on that. No, I think it's going to make, because Canada is just going to become the head of NATO, or the Germans, or the French, or the UK, or it'll be like kind of like a revamping of the coalition. I do believe the Nordic Alliance, which is coming online now, you've already seen Sweden join NATO, which I don't think they should have. They should have just stayed out of that. But I do, Finland is finally switched over to the NATO side, where they had an agreement with both defense pact with Russia and with NATO, but now they're pretty much solely on NATO, which kind of makes sense in a way, because Finland is the front line, right? The Finns, trust me, they are, like their defense systems, they're ready to fight a defensive war. They've already won against the Russians once. The Russians, yes, bigger power. And look, if the roles were different, and the United States was the ones attacking Ukraine, and the United States was where Russia is, and Russia is where the United States is, we'll just say for argument, the Americans would be doing slightly better against the Ukrainians. And think about how much dire it is for the Ukrainians, right? They nowhere near have the numbers, right? But yet they've got their Mirage jets out there flying around shooting down cruise missiles. Fascinating. Listening to one poor Ukrainian lady last night talk about how her husband got shot down, and she saw videos of she thought was Ukrainians in the Donbass basically cheering it on. It wasn't. It was Russian propaganda. It was Russians cheering on this airplane going down. But she meets a lady in the hospital when she's going to take her kid for a checkup, and when one of the nurses saw her name, she come running to her and said, "Look, I saw your husband get shot down. He saved our lives. The plane was heading for like a beach or something, and she said we were just bracing for impact, but he tried to steer the airplane so he could land it somewhere else. He came short and obviously crashed and died. But she goes, he saved our, everybody lights candles for this guy because he's a hero, right? Very touching. It's like this lady finds out not only did her husband die trying to defend her country, but he saves a whole bunch of people, while he knows he's, going to die, right? Bravo. You know what I mean? So you feel bad for the Ukrainian people that have been put into this. And yes, NATO put them into this, right? On behalf of Israel and the United States, the Clinton administration, or sorry, the Obama administration and stuff like that, starting the whole NATO thing, and then the Biden administration. Yes, these administrations, like the Bush administration, like every U.S. administration going back to whoever's left alive from the Bush administration, they all need to be wrangled up, given their day in court for crimes against humanity and illegal wars and genocide and all this, and all these NGO groups and everything. They all need to be hung. You know what I mean? These are the most evil people on. If you get rid of these people, and these people bankrolling all these wars, you get rid of the wars, right? But it always comes back to Israel. It always comes back to the bankers every single time. Again, prove me wrong. Call me whatever name you want, Zionist and racist, bigot, whatever. I don't care. It's if you're intellectually honest, you'll know who the bad guys are. And it's always the same people every time. And that's what people are figuring out. So will we see, I don't think we'll see a military coup over Iran because, again, there's no brave law enforcement or military out there to say, no, this is another illegal war. They'll just go along with it. But it'll be at their own peril. So when all these Americans get killed, again, when you see that first aircraft carrier go to the bottom, the video footage, you're going to see the CNN footage there. Just and then not because they care about the people on the aircraft, but it's just look, this will make Donald Trump look bad. Let's show the gore. Here comes a KHR-101 reverse engineered Houthi missile. Okay, here's 80 of them, not just one, but 80 of them. While there's 100 drones coming in, and they just start slamming into the side of the carrier group. Okay, they shoot most of them down, but two of these cruise missiles make it into the aircraft carrier. You just see planes go flying off the deck, smoke billowing out. You're going to see the ship just kind of going in circles on fire, right? Suddenly, you see a destroyer go down, or they run out of missiles, and here comes drone after drone just pelting them. They can't defend themselves. Here comes another 200, cruise missiles from all directions. Suddenly, the aircraft carrier has been hit 4 times now. Suddenly, you're starting to see the Ollie Burke class destroyers going to the bottom. Okay, no survivors, just things blowing up. One drone makes it into the VLS system. There's a few missiles left. Those missiles, detonate inside the magazine, and bang, there you go. Warships. Suddenly, you start to see, here comes the F-4 Phantoms in, tangling with the U.S. Navy pilots or whatever. Okay, they might not fare out so well, but while they're distracted with that, in comes the helicopters and the speedboats and all that, and they've got Russian torpedoes. 3,000-pound Russian torpedoes. First one hits the front of the carrier. The back one blows up under the stern of the carrier. The fourth one, pretty much busts the front of the ship in half. And then by the 6th torpedo, no one's left alive on the aircraft carrier. Within 4 or 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, a day, doesn't matter. Aircraft carrier is completely sunk. 3,000 to 8,000 people. And you get to watch it in real time. And you get to watch the rest of the world cheering that these people are dead. Why? Because you attacked them. You know what I mean? Again, no one's going to take pity on these sailors. They're not going to be like, oh, these poor Americans are all dead. Thoughts and prayers. They're going to be like, well, why did you attack these people when you didn't need to? You know what I mean? Again, it's all these people that are willing to go to the war. Look, there were some soldiers that got badly injured in the Maduro raid, right? Again, those guys, ask them now. Ask them now, they'll probably still believe the rhetoric or whatever. But, once they realized that they were just cannon fodder for no reason at all, put in harm's way for no reason at all. And Cameron McGregor says, look, Donald Trump is putting us, all these service people on the bases, everything, in harm's way for no reason at all, just because Israel said so. for their Zionist, evangelical, end times prophecy stuff, whatever. For the chosen people, the Jewish chosen people. And it's people are just sick of it. They're just sick of it, right? None of this needs to happen, right? And it's Israel instigating it all the time. And not only are we paying for it monetarily, but we're paying for it with our lives. And paying for it at a time when people can't afford groceries and stuff. I don't know how again, they don't care what the people think. They're just going to do it. So what? You start a war with Iran, then suddenly you're going to start drafting people. And if you don't go and fight and die for Israel, we're going to put you in jail. It might have worked in Vietnam. It will not work this time around. All you're going to get is military coups in the States. Look, the assassination of Trump is coming. I'm not calling for it, but I don't see how he gets out of it now. He's pissed off way too many people around the world. You go after the Greenlanders. Again, I don't know, go after us Canadians. I don't know how many people are going to come to the aid of Canada, but I know it seems like Greenland, like France is sending people, Germany's sending people. The Danes have already got we're going to shoot first and ask questions later. This is already a thing. Okay, so all the Americans out there just dismissing, well, no one is ever going to shoot at the Americans because we're big bad, we got this and we got that, and we're the biggest number one military. You only have a handful of guys in Greenland. So even if you put 20,000 people there, they will just die on those bases. Why? Weather is the number one killer. But, once the rockets and the mortars and stuff like that and cruise missiles and JDAMs start hitting American positions, trust me, you guys are going to freeze to death up there. It's January up there. You don't want to start a war in January up in fucking Greenland. Are you fucking insane? And if you harm the Greenlandic people, an unarmed people, just peacefully living off the coast on their island, just because you want to steal their resources, yeah, you're about to get invaded by or surrounded by about 45 NATO, the NATO countries and BRICS countries that are going to be saying, no, the United States, you're going to stay out of South America. You're going to get fucking artillery by Mexico. You'd say, yeah, well, we could take Mexico. Yeah, but you can't take Mexico, Argentina, Venezuela, Brazil, Bolivia. You know what I mean? They're going to isolate you. You might, have the upper hand for a little while, but when trains start getting blown off the tracks by mercenaries and special forces guys from around the world, you're not going to be able to supply the U.S. military chain. Do you think Lockheed Martin is going to be able to keep building? No, you're going to get cruise missiles. You're going to get your own Storm Shadow missiles coming in from the sea, knocking out all these air bases and stuff. It's going to be bizarre to see, but basically, yeah, if the UK gets involved, they're a nuclear power. France is a nuclear power. They can nuke you back. You know what I mean? You could see Los Angeles and New York vaporized, but most likely Norfolk, Edwards Air Force Base, all these places like that. They can be nuked with the tactical nukes. Sure, the Americans can fire back. Sure, it'll be Armageddon. But the point I'm making is none of this needs to happen, and you're going to be nuking your allies. This is the argument right now, that allies are now preparing for a war with the United States. We're preparing for a war with you. That's just hyperbole. It's just rhetoric, whatever. No, Donald Trump is ramping it up. He's escalating. It's not 4D chess. The Danes, like I say, are already shoot first. If you think the Americans are attacking, don't wait. Just kill them. That is the doctrine right now. I can't tell you how serious that is. And if you can't understand how serious that is, and just going to dismiss it, I mean, you're insane. You're insane. Am I overreacting? No, I'm telling you what's going on. And this, again, is going to lead to a lot of catastrophic things. On top of all the economic things that are about to hit you, whether they drop the tariffs or not, even if they drop the tariffs, it's going to hit Americans really hard in paying for those tariffs. Again, all that tariff money that was made has to be paid back to the corporations. Yeah, you get fucked over again. At a time when inflation is going up. The cost of everything is going up at a time when you're going to spend even more money to fight another war. like, uh, like Donald Trump went from supposed to drain the swamp and fight the deep state to becoming the ultimate deep state bankster guy. You know what I mean? Like, it's just absolutely crazy. The betrayal. It's the betrayal, guys. And again, that's why I keep saying you're going to see probably a veteran military guy or guys kill Trump because they're like, you just betrayed us again and again. And when they see their brothers being slaughtered on the bases helplessly from Iranian rockets and cruise missiles on the ships, like they're going to flip out. They're going to flip out. So the good news is that if that happens, they'll go after a lot of neocons, and again, your John Boltons, your Lindsey Grahams, and your Mike Pompeos, and all this on both sides of the aisle. All these all these Jews in the United States need to understand, like, you're about to have your asses handed to you in the 110th explanation of the Jews because of the 10th Crusade that's going on, and most of it's going to be coming from within your communities of Muslims attacking Jews openly in the streets, in basically the House of Islam rising in retaliation for Western aggression against Iran. The Iranians won't even have a choice on this. It's just going to be Muslims siding with Muslims globally, even if they don't all get along, right? And that there's nothing to do other than fight at that point. No, people aren't going to join in and defend the Israelis. Nobody's going to give a shit about the Israelis. No, people aren't going to defend Jews. You brought it on us, right? Maybe not all of you, but again, as a tribal, it is what it is. One bad apple spoils the whole bunch. Sorry to tell you. So that's exactly where we're at. That's exactly where we're headed, and that's what it could flare out to within like any moment now. Any moment, and not being hyperbolic. It's just it could happen any moment now. So prepare wisely. A lot of bad things. And the number one instigator is Donald Trump, on behalf of Israel predominantly, right? Again, if you leave the Iranians alone, they'll leave us alone. It's as simple as that. If you don't like them, don't do business with them. If you don't like the Chinese, don't do business with them. You know what I mean? It's as simple as that, Anyway, I digress. There we go. So be safe, everybody. Keep preparing. Things are about to get really, really crazy in the next probably couple of days or so. We'll see what happens with the Iranian thing.